Hello Kakuchopurei players, my name is Lewis or Lickety and I'm at Asia PopCon 2024. Today we have a little bit of a different video for you. Not our usual Apa Gamers Mo or What Gamers Want. Instead we have an exclusive interview with none other than David B. Hayter, aka Solid Snake. Yes, that's right, Solid Snake is headlining this event, and with that said, we were fortunate enough to sit down with him and ask some questions. Now, this interview is actually divided up into 3 different sessions conducted by myself, my colleague Alif, and our head of socials Alicia. I will be focusing more on the video game side of things, mainly talking about Snake and some other work he's been in recently. Alif will be focusing more on the pop culture and movie side of things, and Alicia had some games for David B. Hayter. But just before we get into it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content just like this, and obviously ding dong that notification bell to be notified when we upload next, because we upload videos every single week. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the interview with David B. Hayter, aka Solid Snake. Obviously, the biggest news surrounding video games and you is your return to the role as Snake. So what has that been like after being gone from the role for so long?
It's just amazing, and the game, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, first of all, it's incredible that Konami chose to make that game, to remaster that game first. But it's arguably the greatest Metal Gear game ever made. It's my favorite.
It was my first exposure to the...
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one to start with. So, so what I love about that and the release of the Master Collection Volume 1 is we have a whole new generation of fans that are playing it, and I've got all these young people coming up saying, I just got into Metal Gear this year, and it's so cool because I'm a fan of the games, and it would be a shame for them to sort of disappear into history. So the fact that they're back now is really gratifying, and the fact that I get to go back to do a little work as Snake again is after, starting 25 years ago is incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess going off of that then, how involved have you been in the development of that? Obviously, because it is a remake, so there's obviously it's obviously limited to like what can be kind of reimagined. But like, how's your involvement in that?
Well, from the beginning, Konami and I started talking about, I came aboard to help do promotion and work with them. They've let me in on what they're doing behind the scenes. I got to play a little bit of the game, a few months ago. There may be some things that I'm doing voice-wise that I can't really talk about yet.
Right. Okay.
But I'm working to support the game, and I'm pretty involved, which is nice.
Okay. Voice actors often like bring a lot of themselves into their roles that they play. What part of yourself do you feel like most influences your portrayal of Solid Snake, and how has that changed over the years, if it has?
Well, it's really the soul of Snake, Big Boss and Solid Snake. I feel very close to that character, not just because I played it, but because when I was a young man, I traveled around all my life, and I grew up in Asia and in Japan, and so I dealt with a lot of bullies and stuff, and I used to get in fights, and so I was a fairly tough kid, but at the same time I was a very sensitive kid, and I feel that's the same thing with Solid Snake. That he is, he's strong and he's tough, and he'll, he's able to take care of himself, but at the same time, he genuinely cares about the other people in the game, and if people are in danger, if people need help, he can't help himself but jump in, and that has always been my philosophy as well. So, I feel very bonded with all the Snakes. Okay.
Someone's also told me as well that about your fondness for your work in a Metroidvania that you were featured in recently, which was, correct me if I'm wrong, Steam Dolls, is that right?
Yeah, Steam Dolls, Order of Chaos.
Yeah. So how was that experience like in comparison to your doing work with Konami and obviously the Metal Gear series and whatnot?
Well, Steam Dolls is a very cool game, and it's very beautiful, and it's coming out soon. I've been working on that for a few years, but the difference is, Metal Gear is a AAA level game put together by a massive studio.
Yeah.
Steam Dolls is like put together by two guys in France, and it's a little independent game, and so the difference is they have to cobble together the money. It takes a lot longer to put it together. We've been working on it for a few years, and every now and again they call me and say, okay, can you do another round of recording? And so I do, and but it's really fun. I mean, it's clearly a labor of love, and it's very French. Like the humor of it is very very European and funny, and so I'm excited for people to see it. But it was a very different experience from doing like a AAA level game.
Yeah. Then do you think you could share like how that came about? Because obviously, it's a small studio. So like, how did this connection come about, and your involvement in this game?
Well, it's funny. Since I got my big break as a screenwriter on X-Men, I kind of said, well, I don't have to pursue acting if I don't want to. I love acting, but I don't love doing auditions and chasing after it or whatever. So I was like, I'm not going to bother to do many auditions and whatnot. So mostly the acting jobs that I do are just things that people ask me to do.
Right.
And a lot of people are afraid to ask me, will you do my little game or whatever. But typically, if the game looks good, I'll do it. I don't need a lot of money for it or whatever. It's sort of my side job. So Johan, who created Steam Dolls, I think he just reached out to me on Twitter and said, look, I've got this game. Would you be interested? And he showed me the images, and they looked really beautiful. And I said, sure. So we did it, and I'm really glad I did. So, if there's any game developers out there and you've got some cool thing, you want to run it past me, just reach out on Twitter or something, and you might be surprised that I'd be interested.
Well, that's awesome. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Then going off of that, then obviously, your writing work is something that a lot of people know you for as well. On top of your voice acting work, and I wanted to get your perspective on kind of how narratives are slowly. I mean, over the past couple of years, games have become a lot more narrative heavy with games like God of War, Black Myth Wukong recently as well. So I wanted to get your perspective on, do you think that that's going to be a trend going forward permanently? Like, do you think writers are going to have a bigger foothold in the gaming industry now that games are becoming a lot more narrative driven?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a game with just great gameplay is very exciting, and big set pieces. It's very exciting, but I think the game companies are realizing what the movie companies have always known, that a human story that runs through it adds so much more. Like Ghost of Tsushima or something. You get attached to Jin, and you want to see where his journey goes, and then when he's about to get killed, you really are worried for him. And and that really started to a certain extent with Metal Gear Solid. So, and again, it goes back to Snake. He's not just, some tough guy who's like, I'll kick your ass, and, like that sort of thing. He's a genuinely well-rounded character, and when, like in Metal Gear 4, when he crawls through the microwave tunnel and it's so painful, like you really feel that emotion. And so, I think that's more compelling, and I think that if you have really good writing and character development in a game, it makes the game it makes you feel like you're living a movie.
Right, exactly.
So, I think that just makes for a more compelling story, probably sells more copies, and I think it will definitely remain a big part of gaming,
What's one aspect of voice acting for video games that you feel still doesn't get enough attention or credit?
Acting is acting, and it's a matter of understanding the moment, telling the story of the moment, and feeling the emotion of it. But voice acting has an extra layer of, because it's not your face and it's not your eyes communicating it, there's a little extra that goes into it that just makes you feel the movement of it, the emotion of it, and it's something that I think, because like a lot of on-camera actors are very still and they act with their eyes. And
Anthony Sarkis, is Anthony Sarkis?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, that's it. Yeah. I mean, he's a perfect example of that.
Totally.
Amazing eye actor.
Well, but also one of the greatest voice actors in the world.
Right, exactly as well. Yeah.
So when he's on camera, you know, he's acting with his face, and you can see the emotion coming through. But when he's acting with just his voice, it's even more. It's even richer, and it's even more evocative. And so, so people need to realize that the voice acting is a specific skill unto itself, and there is no better example than Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, perfect. Well, it's been a pleasure. I don't want to take too much of your time. My colleague Alicia has a bunch of snacks for you to try.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for your time.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank
No
you for the
worries, no
excellent
worries.
questions.
No
Nice to
worries.
meet you, Lewis.